Porsha Williams talks divorce from Simon. Felt intentional. The Real Housewives of Atlanta's Porsha Williams just got candid about her ongoing divorce in the season 16 premiere. Porsha split up from Simon Guobadia in February 2024. On RUA Season 16, Episode 1, Porsha returned to attorney Randy Kessler, the same man who represented the Real Housewife during her 2013 divorce from her first husband, Kordell Stewart. One of my joys was getting up in the morning and just thinking about what I could do to make Simon happy, and I genuinely felt he was the same way about me, Porsha admitted in her confessional. I would have rode to the end of the world with this man, but the person I'm now mourning, he was not real. Where do Porsha and Simon stand today? Porsha revealed she and Simon are no longer on speaking terms. For me and our relationship, I used to pride myself on us having great communication, she admitted, and when communication started to lack, it felt intentional. Porsha claimed she attempted to reach out to Simon just 2 weeks before filming in an effort to find some peace, but Simon doesn't want to communicate at all. "I've just given up on that part," Porsha cried. "So now I have to become the person he's saying. Now I have to be cold. Now I have to just move forward in the court process." Communication stopped not long after a bad argument on Valentine's Day. But given Porsha's old-school approach, she said she continued to pretend things between them were fine on social media, despite knowing we were not ok. Porsha elaborated further on how difficult the breakup has been for her. "My divorce from Simon. I haven't dealt with the emotional part yet," Porsha said. "I've had to deal with logistics. It's really weird. It feels really cold." Porsha told Kessler she learned from her first marriage, and so, the second time around, she ensured a prenup was in place, especially for the sake of her 5-year-old daughter Pilar Jenna Paige McKinley, whom Porsha shares with her ex-fiancé Dennis McKinley. Porsha also told RUA producers she had believed she and Simon would conquer anything so long as they had each other, but a slow progression of issues and untruths bubbled to the surface. She cited Simon allegedly concealing finances and a potential foreclosure notice as reasons she had to be smart in her approach. "I felt the need to file when I did to protect assets," Porsha said in the premiere. Porsha was also upset when she met with Shamia Morton, as seen on the premiere, and Shamia revealed Kelly Farrell was gossiping about how Porsha and Simon initially got together. "Everybody talking about my divorce. They want to smear my name," Porsha told producers. "I mean, if she has an opinion, join everybody else online. Like, you can get blocked, too." Furthermore, Porsha was unhappy that Simon continued to communicate with her friends. "Everything he's posting, his constant attacks, him talking to all my friends, him lying," Porsha told Shamia. "He's a nightmare." The couple announced their split after 15 months of marriage. Unveiling the layers, Porsha Williams reflects on her divorce from Simon Guobadia. The dream crumbles. Porsha Williams sat quietly in the plush chair of the high-rise office, her eyes focused on the view of downtown Atlanta below. The skyline sparkled with the golden light of the setting sun, but within her, there was a storm brewing. She adjusted the hem of her dress nervously, waiting for her attorney, Randy Kessler, to enter the room. It had been a long time since she had needed his expertise in matters of the heart, but now, as her second divorce unfolded in the most public way possible, she found herself once again sitting in his office. Randy had been by her side once before during her tumultuous divorce from Kordell Stewart back in 2013. That had been a painful chapter of her life, one where her marriage had unraveled under the weight of public scrutiny and personal heartache. But this time, it felt different. This time, she was stronger, more in control, yet still, the pain cut deep. "Here we go again," Porsha whispered to herself, staring at her reflection in the glass. The woman who had once been so full of joy, so ready to share her life with someone, was now facing an entirely different reality. The dream she had once shared with Simon Guobadia, her second husband, had come crashing down in ways she hadn't anticipated. Their 15-month marriage had ended in the bitterest of ways, with an absence of communication, trust, and love. The memory of their first days together lingered in her mind like an old photograph, a time of infatuation and promises of forever. They had been inseparable. For Porsha, every morning had begun with thoughts of Simon, wondering what she could do to make him happy. She had been utterly committed to him, convinced that he was the one who would finally fulfill her dreams of lasting love. But now, with the divorce papers filed and the pieces of her life scattered like broken glass, she could see things more clearly. Her confessional on The Real Housewives of Atlanta had been raw and unfiltered, her emotions spilling out in the moment. One of my joys was getting up in the morning and just thinking about what I could do to make Simon happy, and I genuinely felt he was the same way about me, she had said on the show. I would have rode to the end of the world with this man, but the person I'm now mourning, he was not real. The cold silence. Porsha hadn't expected the silence that followed their breakup to feel as deafening as it did. At first, she tried to reach out, hoping for some sort of resolution. She called Simon twice in the weeks leading up to the filming of the RHOA Season 16 premiere, desperate to find closure, to find peace. But every attempt was met with cold indifference. For me and our relationship, I used to pride myself on us having great communication, Porsha confessed in another emotional moment. And when communication started to lack, it felt intentional. She paused, her voice cracking as she continued. I've just given up on that part. So now I have to become the person he's saying. Now I have to be cold. Now I have to just move forward in the court process. It wasn't just the lack of communication that hurt. It was the way Simon had changed. The man she had once believed in, the man who had promised her the world, had become a stranger to her. Every argument, every insult, every hurtful moment seemed to chip away at the person she had loved. And as the days passed, Porsha could feel herself becoming someone else, someone more distant, more guarded. She was no longer the woman who believed in fairy tales. The pivotal moment of their emotional breakdown had been on Valentine's Day. Porsha had tried to push through the growing tension, pretending on social media that everything was fine, but deep down, she knew it wasn't. She remembered the feeling of dread as the holiday came and went, marked only by a bad argument and silence. I've had to deal with logistics. It's really weird. It feels really cold, Porsha had admitted, struggling to reconcile the pain of the breakup with the reality of moving on. The emotional part of it hadn't hit yet, but the practicalities of divorce, the splitting of assets, the custody of her daughter, were inescapable. She hadn't had time to process the emotional toll, not with everything else demanding her attention. A mother's strength. Porsha's daughter, Pelargina, or PJ as she was affectionately known, was the one constant in her life. She had to remain strong for PJ, even when the world around her was falling apart. As Porsha navigated the end of her marriage, she kept her daughter's best interests at the forefront of her mind. Unlike her first marriage, this time, Porsha had ensured that there was a prenuptial agreement in place to protect herself and PJ. The thought of her daughter experiencing another broken family weighed heavily on her heart. PJ was only 5 years old, too young to understand the complexities of divorce, but old enough to feel the absence of her father. Porsha had always been determined to shield her daughter from the ugliness of her relationships, but with the public nature of her divorce, it felt impossible to keep her private life under wraps. As she spoke with Randy about the details of her marriage to Simon, Porsha revealed the extent to which her trust had been shattered. She mentioned Simon's alleged financial issues, including rumors of foreclosure notices and secret debts. I felt the need to file when I did to protect assets, she said, her voice tinged with bitterness. She had once believed that they could conquer anything together, that they were invincible as long as they had each other. But slowly, the cracks had appeared, and Simon's actions, or lack thereof, had made it clear that their relationship was built on shaky ground. The smear campaign. One of the most difficult aspects of Porsha's divorce was the way it played out in the media. The public nature of her split from Simon meant that everyone had an opinion, whether they knew the full story or not. Gossip spread like wildfire, with rumors about how she and Simon had initially gotten together, casting a shadow over their entire relationship.